holidays are here, and our favorite divas are either releasing holiday songs or we're listening to one of their classic tracks. Of course, I wanted to bring in friend of the show, James Rodriguez, host of the original Dial with James Rodriguez. Happy holidays, and thank you for doing this.
Happy holidays. Thank you for having me back, especially this time of year. I love it.
So let's first talk a little Mariah Carey. All I Want for Christmas Is You. Such an iconic part of so many people's holiday traditions. You hear it on the radio, you automatically, think of the holidays. But this wasn't always a number one hit. I mean, it got released right before Halloween in 1994, and it only reached
Mhm.
number 12. That fascinates me.
And especially because it was so fresh and new, and everyone was like tuning in. And to me, it's one of those songs that so many people are like, well, this has been number one for every year since it came out. I was like, actually, no, it peaked at, it was not even a top 10 hit. And there's various reasons, criteria, and everything. But it's so funny because now it's like every year it's going to be a number one song, which is amazing. You know what I mean? That next year will be 30th anniversary of, let me see if I can pull out my prop, 30th anniversary of, Merry Christmas. But All I Want for Christmas Is You is one of those songs that everyone's like, it had to have been number one, right? It had to, like, no, not when it first came out. It didn't go number one until 20 plus years later.
Reached number 12 at the end of 1994, and then end of 1995, and then 1996. But the rules had changed for Billboard. So it wasn't until 2019 where she finally reached number one. And now I feel like she's going to be number one from now for the next 175 years.
100% until music has stopped being made and people no longer have ears because we've adapted to something else, it will continue to go on. Just like growing up, how we had Brenda Lee, how we had Bing Crosby, how it just became a part of the family's, iconography, if you will, that it just was always there. And people love it. And it gives you as great of feelings as possible. So now that you look at it as an adult versus like a teenager when it came out, you're like, this is still just it's a great song, and it doesn't sound aged because of what they did with the production.
Because just you mentioning Brenda Lee is that was one of those songs I heard on the radio, but when I heard it in Home Alone, that's what I always associate that song with the movie.
100%. I think all of us did. I was like, oh, I like this song. And I'm like, it's, the train going around with like what's it, Michael Jordan or whatever going around the train. But it's one of those songs that because of that movie, it came into our vernacular, our pop culture view, which is always fun.
With Mariah Carey's song, what do you first remember? Like, when do you first remember hearing it? And was it like as iconic for you at the very beginning, or were you just like, oh, this is a great song, and then it just kind of took a life of its own later?
Well, at that time, I was basically growing up in a record store that my mom was managing, and I would be there. And so when new product came in, I would like listen to it if it was a 7-inch or something where you could easily take it out of the sleeve versus like a CD where you had to open it. But when that came out, I just remember thinking, first of all, I was blown away that Mariah Carey, since like 1990, she was releasing an album every year and it continued on, EP, all that stuff in there too. But I remember when I first heard it, I was like, wait, do I know this song? Because they created that Spectre wall of sound that was the throwback to, the great Christmas music in, the 50s, 60s and on. And I remember thinking, what is this? And it's not what you expect because the keys coming in, then the music coming in, and her voice, and then it just explodes. And I remember thinking, what am I listening to? This is so bizarre in such a great way because it was different than what I expected from Mariah Carey because it was this upbeat throwback song. So for me, I was just taken aback at just once again the genius that is Mariah Carey and Walter Asanafiev, that they created something that I was like, I think I know this song, but I don't think I do. And little did I know it was a brand new song, but to me it sounded like an old song, and that's one of the reasons why.
And I think also too, just you mentioning that, is that it almost reminds me of Last Dance, where it starts off a little slow and then it's a fast dance party, and that kind of had that same kind of rhythm that like people could just start off slowly, start singing it, and then full out dance. Like that's just one of that, like, and that's Last Dance. I mean, that's just such
Oh
an
yeah,
iconic song.
it is, and that's the cool thing about the song. To your point, like the production of it, it doesn't follow the traditional. Let's start here, let's go here. This grows on top of each level of production, grows onto the next thing, and it just it draws you in, and then it's just this explosion, like Last Dance or Janet Jackson Together Again, where you have the beginning where it's kind of this, is this a slower song? where are we going with this? And then it switches and catches you off guard in such a great way.
Another thing too, a couple of interesting parts too was that it was kind of thought of maybe in the mid 90s, 80s, and before, was that when someone was at the end of their career or someone didn't have any new songs, like let's release a holiday album, and that was kind of a surefire way to have success. And it was rare to have someone on top of their game. Like you said, she was releasing new albums. We had Dream Lover and Emotions and Vision of Love and all these hits that were playing on the radio. That
Mm-hmm.
like she released a holiday Christmas album, but not many artists were doing that at that time.
100%, because up until that point, so many people, as it on the show that I have, I interview people about production deals, recording contracts, and everything. And there's times where some artists are like, they're just kind of disappearing, like they're no longer considered relevant to the buying customer, right or wrong, but that's what it is. So sometimes labels would say, okay, we need to finish off your 4 album contract. You did 3 of them. Let's put together a Christmas album because it costs next to nothing. We're just taking songs, get in the studio, turn around really quick. And so that's why so many of these albums are not made at Christmas time. They're made in the summer. And so here's Mariah Carey at the top of Mariah Careydom off of, Music Box and stuff like that, where she just kept going up. So everyone's like, well, what's the next album? What is going to be her next hero ballad? And then all of a sudden, with like little to no warning at the time specifically, here she comes out with this Christmas album, and you're like, wait, is she did I miss some? Did I not get the memo? Is she no longer a thing? Because it was put into our mind that it would be legacy acts kind of veering out, that was what the public thought. So for Mariah Carey to go, okay, work with the label, and the ex-husband, just going, are we going to do this? If we're going to do it, let's do it. And to me, it's once again the genius in Mariah Carey going, so you all thought this was only for people that were done with their career, but I'm still at the beginning of mine, so I give it to you, feast. And she did, and we did.
And she's going on her first tour. I know she's done the show in New York, but she's finally going on a nationwide tour. She's coming to the Chicagoland area early December, but hitting a whole bunch of different cities. And I have a feeling this is just the beginning, especially with the 30th anniversary coming up next year. She's going to continue this concert trend.
And what's always been smart with her is that when you go back through her actual like world tours, let's say like the Daydream tour, you look and she wasn't doing 250 dates. She was doing very select dates in the world. Not all of her tours, but she's never been somebody who does 3 years of touring one album, because her albums would come out year after year after year. So like promote the album, get back in the studio, release a new one, promote the album, get back in the studio. And with this, I think that she has found that niche market where she can still give us the Mariah Carey of it all. And at a time where I think it I think it always brings, whenever you think about these holiday songs, it always brings like love and uplifting moments and that nostalgic. And I think that she's going to be an evergreen of us ending out the year on a higher note, Mariah Carey style, and just a good way to end it with your friends and family enjoying her. And I think it's smart to start just tour more, do more cities that you haven't done in quite a bit.
Oh, exactly. I mean, she was at the beginning of her career when she did that. Cher just released her holiday album, but it was her 27th album. So it wasn't anywhere in the beginning, in the middle, 27 albums in, you're finally like, okay, let's do a holiday album.
And with Cher, even by her own admission, is somebody who's like, my career has come and gone and come and gone and come, like by her own admission. And for this to be, 27 albums deep, and that's not including all of the greatest hits albums. We're just talking about studio albums. And then she's just like, okay, she's been at her I don't give a mode in her life for quite some time. And I think that nowadays I appreciate these artists who are like, you know what? Let me just do something different. Let me, there's points where people are like, we're closer towards the end of our limelight of wanting to maybe even perform or sing. And she's like, let me just do the ABBA cover albums and Mamma Mia and all that stuff. I'm like, she is now just the gift that keeps giving, because you're like, what is she going to do next? And you're just like, of course. And then on this, she decides to have like duets on this album, which she had not done in a long time. I don't know if she ever had any duets on her actual albums. I don't believe so. But so all this stuff is a big deal for her, because she's given us something 27 albums later, it's still
What do
giving
you
us stuff we love.
still giving us stuff? DJ Play a Christmas Song. What do you think of that first single off the album?
I think it is the most Cher. If I had to say what is a Christmas song with Cher like, that that would be the song because it's self-referential. She is. It's basically also going, hey everyone, just tell the DJ play a Christmas song. It's not trying to be. What has been great with Cher is she never, in my opinion, never tries to take herself seriously and enjoys the art for what it is, which makes us enjoy it. So of course this would be it. She's like, play the song, go with it. And she gave us such a Cher Christmas song for us to even go, it's Cher and it's a Christmas song, and we love both of those things. So we really love what she did.
And whether you're have a playlist at home, whether you're entertaining guests or you go out, that's the perfect first song to play, and then continue with the holiday songs.
100%. It's just like start with it, and you could call whatever your home devices. I'm not going to say anyone's name, so it doesn't pop off anybody else's home devices. You can ask the electronic person, play the song, and it's like, there you go, you got it. It's the beginning of a great night.
So we have some new songs from Cher, but she also does a couple of covers. One of the interesting ones is Santa Baby, because she's had this rivalry with Madonna, and obviously, you think of that song. Madonna's one of the artists that you think of covering that song. What is your take on that, as far as like having these two artists, doing the same cover?
Well, this is the part that I truly love is the artists all know what the other artists have done. These women are smart businesswomen, so they know exactly. So sometimes when I hear an artist say, "Oh, I never listen to the music," or "I never," no, you do, because you want to make sure you're not repeating something somebody else did. But for such a while, for such a long while, in so many of the music communities, it was Madonna was peak Santa Baby. She is that. You have Eartha Kitt for some people, but Madonna. So then for Cher to go, I'm gonna Cher come to the stage. There was a distinct reason why she chose to do that. Everything Cher has done is a decision that is thoroughly thought about. We talk about Taylor Swift always like thinking about each step. A lot of these artists do because they've had to. They've had to go, okay, if I'm gonna, this is the hill I'm gonna die on. Let me go with what my decision is. So for her to choose a song that was so closely related to somebody who she's, those two artists, Madonna and Cher, never had. I mean, you could just Google and YouTube videos of what they think of each other. That's a thing. Media does stuff in that situation, but I think for her to choose to do that was such, once again, a Cher thing to do. Oh, not one person owns the song. Not these people don't own this. It's for everyone. So for her to do that and put it on an official album, I was like, I see what you did there. What did you think, by the way? What did you think of that?
First of all, I'm going to say I think everyone is entitled to their own opinion, whether you like Eartha Kitt's version or Cher's version or Madonna's version. Like, I'm not trying to tell you one's better than the other. Everyone has their own musical taste. For me, it's Madonna. That is my like ultimate Santa Baby version. But I do think it is funny because Cher may not necessarily have said something, but online communities, people sharing the post, is just going to make those two songs kind of go back to forth. Like, oh, if you like this version, this one is better, and then let the fans, decide and discuss. She doesn't have to say anything. She just has to release the song and let everybody else kind of take it from there.
When the track list came out and Santa Baby was on there, the amount of people that were messaging going, "Oh, look at what she did." I was like, "Yeah, she put a great Christmas song on her Christmas album." And I'm like, and they're like, "But I'm like, you know what? To your point, the fandom can do with it what it will. At the end of the day, you're just going to have people promoting the song passively and actively. Oh, if you like that, check out this song. If you don't like this song, check out that version of it or see the difference. So in that sense, it benefits both artists to not say anything, let everyone else decide.
And let's just talk, Santa Baby just in general. Eartha Kitt, the first artist to do that song. We also have Madonna, Kylie Minogue, Ariana Grande, RuPaul, Gwen Stefani, Taylor Swift, Michael Bublé, the Pussycat Dolls, Brandy. I mean, there's so many, Trisha Yearwood. There's so many artists that have covered it for every style of music.
100%. And that's what makes a good song. The composition of it, being able to go into so many different genres, to me, is smart and amazing. And also, everyone that you mentioned has a distinct voice. And that's what you need in this song because it's a storyteller song. Ooh, I'm being a little, kitteny, I'm being playful. And all of those people have distinct voices and distinct styles and distinct genres that it also is in recognition of what a great song that it is to be able to be interpreted in so many different ways. And I think that's just props to the composers.
Because for me, it feels like there's two styles. There's the Eartha Kitt style, which, if you listen to Kylie Minogue's version, is very similar to that.
Hmm.
And then there's the playful, almost Betty Boop sounding Madonna version of it that is just like, I'm going to be as extravagant and as like fun as possible. And she's having fun with that track, which I feel like also inspired like Gwen Stefani and Ariana Grande, and some of those other
Right.
artists to do it in that style. But let's talk maybe those two versions, the Madonna and Eartha Kitt versions, and the covers that have come out of that.
Well, I think that what was great is Eartha Kitt was able to use, because there were so many people that would come down on Eartha Kitt that she doesn't have an interesting voice or that she can't sing and this and that. And she proved time and time again that her voice, she was able to utilize it in such a way that was very Eartha Kitt. I feel like we always have these conversations about women's voices, but never men's voices. You know what I mean? Like it's never like, oh, she's so weird. But what she was able to do is Eartha Kitt was able to create something so good in such a storyteller's way and just draws you in. It's like this, I always say this like warm, honey sounding voice that just draws you in and you're in the whole time. And there's the comedic aspect to it of how she phrases certain words and things like that. So you have that side. Then you have Madonna's that's 100%. I'm going to play into what you guys think I am. You know what I mean? That I'm just like this little, sex kitten kind of thing. And Madonna uses her way and changes her tone and uses the textures of her voice in such a smart way that everyone's like, oh, before that, some music critics would say, her voice, she's too whiny, she's too nasally, she's too moany, and this and that. So all of a sudden she does Santa Baby, and then everyone's like, those same people are like, oh wow, she's really great. She was able to transform this. And I'm like, smart. This is why you are smart with what you do.
I also wonder, she's coming to the States in December. I don't think she's ever performed that song live.
Mm-mm.
So this might be an opportunity. Even I know she's doing a couple of songs, just a couple of bars, but come on, you can't come and perform your celebration tour with your greatest hits and not give us some Santa Baby in December at in some kind of version.
I 100% agree because I feel like what's been fun is watching Madonna really have fun on stage and just going. I feel like post 2001, to that like the reinvention tour and everything, where she's acknowledging those songs, those deep cuts and things like that. I think that it would be a Madonna thing to go, oh, and then start playing Santa Baby in the background to go Santa Baby, and then be like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that would be her sort of thing. I think it would be a great gift to fans, but also I think it's such a great way, business wise, to promote her song that was, and many people might not know that the song wasn't on a studio album of hers. It was on a charitable CD, that people go back and listen to that. And I think that's kind of the fun part of it. And Madonna doing Santa Baby, not on an album, made sense for her. A lot of people ask me, James, when you talk to these people, why is this song on a soundtrack or this and that? Why did they keep it for their own album? A lot of times it's, well, that didn't fit what I was going with. So now that Madonna's going back through and open up the vaults, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to play this song. And we're like, that's the song you chose to play? I forgot about that in a great way. But I think that hopefully we get a little Santa Baby before year's end.
Fingers crossed. Or maybe she has Bob the drag queen team up with her and do it in some kind of way during the performance.
It's going to be Madonna. She's like, you want to see it? And she's going to do 2 seconds of her like clicking on an Instagram video going, here it is. Bye. Like, that's also a Madonna thing to do. I love it.
And speaking of your point, was that, when we talked earlier as far as Mariah coming out with this holiday album, and this was kind of not a thing for current artists to be doing, and now so many current artists have been following suit. But when you talk about that Madonna single from a very special Christmas, that album, the Eurythmics around there, the Pointer Sisters, Bruce Springsteen, Run DMC, Madonna, like these were all songs that if you listen to any of the holiday stations, these are the same songs that are played over and over. So they were giving you these one singles, but not necessarily releasing an album. But see how timeless like these artists are from the 80s and the 90s, that these songs still live on and their versions still live on.
Well, and that's the great thing about those compilations back then is you had so many top tier artists giving top tier material to an album where it's not part of their discography and their own studio album. But you then go, okay, wait, so you can play this song and you have Bon Jovi on here, you have this person on there and Madonna, and you just look and go, this makes sense because it's all Christmas. Nowadays, you can listen to a random Christmas station and it could feel like they just pressed play on that CD and went all the way through. But bravo to all of them for doing that.
And especially now, no, artists can just release their own single. They could do it on a digital platform, and they don't have to be part of a compilation to be asked or to submit their song for that. You can just have a popular artist, and they're like, "Here's our song. You can buy it on our own website." Okay, I just found that album. Let's see if it has the track lists on here. Pointer Sisters, Eurythmics, Whitney Houston, Bruce Springsteen, The Pretenders, John Cougar Mellencamp, Sting, Run DMC, U2, Madonna, Bob Seger, Bryan Adams, Bon Jovi, Stevie Nicks. I mean,
See?
incredible. If you have not checked out the album,
told...
go ahead and check it out.
Well, and that's the fun part. When you go check out that album and you listen and go, these are all artists, and none of them would have theoretically, none of them would have ever, especially in the 80s, would have never really done an album together anyway. You know, you wouldn't have had A-list, musician here, A-list group here. You wouldn't have had them on the same album ever unless it was for something like this. And you just go, man, these are all great. So even if you don't know who any of those people are or you're new to all of them, that's okay. It's truly a sign of the time because all those artists at the time were the most played. They were the big artists on there. There are a couple artists that I always get asked about why I've never heard a Christmas song by certain artists. And I'm like, one of them being somebody that I just celebrated recently. Everyone's like, where's Janet Jackson on this stuff? And I'm like, God, if anyone has a Janet Jackson Christmas song, let me know.
Yeah, because the Jackson Five had their Christmas album and their Christmas songs that like we still listen to all the times. I wonder why Janet never did one.
See, and that's one of those things where, and she could easily nail any sort of song, whether it's a ballad or an upbeat song and things like that. But it's always interesting because people say she's got to have one. Everyone we know has one. And I said, I have never seen one. Not saying that doesn't exist, but I feel pretty confident in saying I don't know any solo Janet Jackson Christmas songs out there right now.
Okay, let's do not favorite, or top two favorite holiday songs for you. Like when you listen to music and when you put them on, like what are your top two favorite? Top two, top three. I'm not going to let you do one if you don't want to.
Mine is always controversial because people are like, really, what? One of them is Kylie Minogue's duet with James Corden, "Only You," from her Christmas album, because it's such a beautiful song and it's a cover of a song, and that song just brings that nostalgic etherealness to it. All I Want for Christmas Is You, always in there. But then I also have like, Britney Spears. I love, My Only Wish This Year. And it's just, when I think about the artists that I really love, it's because of their way of storytelling and all those songs, upbeat, fun. Because I also love like Last Christmas, Wham / George Michael. It really depends on the mood, but I think a good solid, let's have cocktails and have a Christmas party. I always think of those upbeat songs that just put me in a good mood. So controversial, yes, but I love them all.
No,
special
because
shout out, by the way, special shout out to Alanis Morissette's Christmas EP that came out with Last Christmas on it. She does Happy Christmas, The War Is Over, which was one of my favorite songs growing up. Fantastic job.
Gotta go check out that. Alanis just came out a couple of weeks ago. But speaking of, I mean, there's some covers, but like when you speak about Britney or the NSYNC Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, these are these are new songs. Like they're not riding on, let's do a cover of this song and see if our version flies. I mean, this was a brand new song they put onto the world that people like just immediately gravitated towards.
100%. And that's why I think My Only Wish This Year sticks out to me, because as a kid growing up loving Mariah Carey, that Christmas song was always on. I would always play the CD nonstop. And when Britney's came out back in 2000, I'm a huge Britney fan. I just thought, wow, she just made a brand new song. To your point, it wasn't covering a different song. So it gave Mariah Carey gave something in the 90s that was so different and new for me. Britney gave something in 2000 that was new and different because it was very Britney and it was very pop. It's very such a 2000 song. And the origins of it, it originally had sadder lyrics. I interviewed the producer of it. And it was like Santa Don't Break My Heart Again This Year, which would have been a vastly different song than what it is this time around. But that's why I give those shout outs to all those original Christmas songs because it's hard to do.
What's your favorite version of Santa Baby?
Ooh. Oh, see, now people are gonna come at me. Um, I I do think that Eartha Kitt is quite close to number one, but I'd have to give it to Madonna because learning more about Madonna and what that song was, and also what it was for. That it was a charity thing. There's just all sorts of great positives for it. And it's like, she's like, oh, you want me to play with being this girl that's just like, men, give me whatever I want. So she's like, well, I'll do that. And then she did it. So for me, it's that empowering aspect of it. But, we have number one, Madonna. Number two, oh,
It's okay. Okay. I'm almost gonna pick something similar because just when your point about Madonna was Material Girl was just out 2 years prior. So a lot of people kind of had that image of her and she was just playing into it and just having fun with what people were assuming about her, which I think is just hilarious.
Because she wasn't taking herself seriously for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think that's what gives props to it. And knowing who Madonna is now, you just look and go, once again, this human being, every decision she made, there was a specific reason why she chose to do it. It's usually a response to what the media, the world, or critics are saying to her. She's like, oh, you have that to say about me? Well, here it is.
Because I think my top five, I'm going to put All I Want for Christmas Is You. I'll put Last Christmas. Debbie Gibson's Sleigh Ride.
Oh,
I love that version so much.
So good.
She's the nicest person. I've got to interview her a couple of times. The absolute nicest. And like that version just reminds me of my childhood. Like that's one of my top fives. Do They Know It's Christmas? And we're going to go Madonna, Santa Baby. I think those are going to be my top five.
See, and those are all, the great thing is they're all distinctly different songs too. There are times people say, James, can you go ahead and, make a playlist, or what album should I buy that has these for Christmas songs or holiday songs? And I said, well, are you in the mood for upbeat, or are you in the mood for being by a fireplace, having wine, wanting to be a little sad? There's two distinct different things. I was like, because one, you'll play Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. The other is Miss You Most at Christmas Time. Both Mariah Carey songs from the same album, but two distinctly different things. So that's the great thing about, the ones that you picked. They don't follow these same things. And it was not a snapshot of that one time. They go. Debbie Gibson, that's like a deep cut to some. I'm like, oh my goodness, I love it.
And she was just at the Magnificent Mile, the Lights Festival last year. She's doing this tour with this new holiday album in LA, and she's in New York as well too. She was just did a cameo on Broadway. So like Debbie, if you follow her, Debbie Gibson is still like doing a ton of stuff. But I think that's from the second A Very Special Christmas. She did it.
I'm trying to think of the cover too.
I think it was green.
Like
the first one was
red.
And she was on the green version. I think that's number two.
Somebody in the comments is gonna be like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. I'll correct it if it's not. James, this was so wonderful. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for your time. Go ahead and check out the original doll with James Rodriguez, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.